As you can see behind me, the Hayfield Fire Department cleaning up this very active scene. A Rochester man is in custody tonight following an alleged assault in northwest Rochester early this morning. But it turned out to be quite a beautiful day to help a beautiful organization, which is the Law Enforcement Foundation of Southeast Minnesota here. I've already had a few people dunk me, if you can't tell by the white shirt. Sir, a man yelled, "Help me," is what witnesses gave us, their witness account, and we're still waiting to just hear police notification as to what happened. Yeah, or go find a lake or a pool or...
Pool. Sounds really nice.
Yeah.
Sounds really nice.
I might have to do that now. A woman sleeping early this morning, being woken up to somebody right next to her bed. And this is just the beginning of the story. New state numbers show parental drug abuse is the most common reason children are being placed in foster care. You brought that drone up twice now. It sits back down on the ground. Kind of describe to me what's next for you guys. Yeah, this was 10 years ago, so it's kind of... You know, when you think back a decade ago, do you remember what you did a decade ago? But this was such a quick thing in Rochester where it kind of slipped everybody. Get a live look in here of what we're seeing. We see investigators right now on top of a roof.
Yeah, we've been in the space for about 2 years now. And
there's no question we live in a community full of people who are willing to give.
We're Minnesota nice. And that's what we were back then, too.
It was 10 years ago when Theo St. Main and Mike Pruitt of MLT Group, along with other business owners, kicked in their Minnesota Nice and invested in the Rochester Fire professional basketball team.
It was pitched to us as we're a startup basketball team, money's tight at the front end, but we're going to do a lot of work with you.
And the man behind the pitch was the owner of the team, a guy from Miami named Steve Rodriguez.
And I met him. He was a great guy. I mean, really super nice person to meet and everything. So I invested money into it.
Joe Powers, a successful restaurant owner in Rochester, trusted Rodriguez.
You know, it wasn't until just shortly before that first game, first and only game, that the real wheels really came off the bus.
Rodriguez never showed up to the first game. All that was left of him were pictures and a previous press conference.
It's a different league, different business model.
Also gone thousands of dollars spent on the team. How much money did you, if you don't mind?
Yeah, ultimately I think I was out about $50,000.
It's a $25,000 learning experience.
He took me for a ride. I mean, I believed it all.
Yeah.
So who is he really, and what how much of that is a facade? It remains a mystery to me to this day.
A mystery that needed to be solved.
Hi, is this Steve?
We found Rodriguez living in Atlanta, Georgia. He denied our request to record the phone interview, but agreed to answer some questions.
People made it sound like, Steve, that you took $100,000 and ran.
Rodriguez responded saying that's not true. There was office space, uniforms, and equipment bought. I ended up in bankruptcy, so that factually is untrue. I failed. I wish I had not. It has been harmful to me and my family financially, so that suggestion is simply factually untrue.
What was the feeling just within you guys and within Rochester?
You know, it was like being professionally conned.
What do you tell the investors who backed you and who are owed all this money?
He responded, at the time as well, I said I was very sorry and wish it would have succeeded. Normally a con man steals money and ends up in trouble with the law. I ended up in bankruptcy, so it wasn't like we wanted it to fail, so I'm very sad that it did not succeed. I wish it had.
So you brought him to court?
We did.
Powers and Rodriguez settled in a Florida courtroom.
He's paying not much to this day, and it's mostly going back for our legal fees right now.
Basketball team comes to town. I mean, do you...
I'd listen, but I do a lot more research.
And despite the headache, both Powers and MLT Group say it was a lesson learned.
You guys are still operating, doing well?
Right, yeah. It takes more than one hit to knock out MLT Group.
Laura, we are on 9.5 Street in Southeast Rochester, right near Slatterly Park. I want you to take a look at this. This is where the suspect crashed that squad car. You can see chunks of concrete taken out of the curb here. That's when police say he allegedly took the squad car a few blocks down. He then got out of the vehicle, and police say he fled on foot. Our camera's just feet away from where the suspect was apprehended by a K-9 officer. Rochester police say an officer was helping a woman who got out of her car yelling and acting frantic. When the officer approached her, that's when her passenger, 23-year-old Traverse McDaniel, allegedly stole the squad car and took off.
Anytime you hear that a squad car is taken, you know, that's obviously an extreme concern. We have weapon systems in the vehicle.
Captain Sherman says RPD squad cars are equipped with a tracking device, making it much easier to find McDaniel.
Yeah, that was crazy.
This witness telling us Tuesday night he saw McDaniel speeding through his neighborhood. It was right after he pointed an officer in the direction the car was heading.
There's a lot of people, a lot of kids. I know it's late, but that's still, like I said, it's something on Cops Reloaded, man. You know, this is Rochester, Minnesota, not Las Vegas. So when something like that goes down, you at least got to point a finger, you know, say you went that way.
McDaniel was taken away on a stretcher to be treated for his wounds from the canine officer. His criminal record showing this isn't the first time he's attempted to run from law enforcement. Back in 2014, he was convicted of a misdemeanor, fleeing a peace officer by means other than a motor vehicle. 6 months later, McDaniel was convicted of a felony after attempting to escape from custody.
Despite warnings issued to the suspect, he did still try to run. And one thing that is certainly a fact is that you can't outrun a dog. And the dog was able to apprehend and take custody of the suspect in this incident.
I talked to Captain Sherman this afternoon. He says they're still investigating why McDaniels took the squad car in the first place. Captain Sherman also talked about why the officer didn't shut off his squad car. He says it's routine for officers to leave the squad car running, especially in those tense situations. Meantime, McDaniels faces multiple charges, including fleeing an officer and motor vehicle theft. Laura, devastating was how friends and family described the last year and a half. Caitlin was someone that loved everyone around her and had many talents, one of them singing. Videos like these are more important to the Hansen family now than ever before.
It's mind-boggling. I cannot wrap my head around it that a second this way or a second that way, and we wouldn't even be sitting here right now talking about this.
Instead, the family learned the fate of the person who admitted to causing Caitlin's death. In January 2016, 55-year-old Cindy Muskie decided to drive behind the wheel drunk. Her truck hit and crushed Caitlin Hansen, killing her. Caitlin's father arriving on scene telling the court he pulled back the tarp on her car that night to ID his beloved daughter.
When she got her driver's license, she came home and she was proud to have the driver's license, but she was more proud to be an organ donor.
Yep. The court learned Thursday Muskie was pulled over in Iowa the same day of the fatal crash. The Fillmore County prosecutor saying she passed a field sobriety test but was cited for open bottle. Family and friends of Caitlin were there Thursday as Muskie was sentenced to 4 years in prison, something the family says won't bring back Caitlin.
I really wouldn't even say anything. I would just hold on to her and not want to let go.
Anything you want to say to the family?
I'm sorry.
She will be missed by many at Fillmore Central High School. Her friends say the tragedy has brought the student body even closer.
And it's something that will always stay with me, and I'm sure most other people.
Caitlin was the glue that kept her friends together. Now, an angel watching over everyone she loved most.
Grandma's drama queen, I love you.
As you heard from her dad in the story, Caitlin was an organ donor. She saved the life of both a 5-month-old baby girl and a 7-year-old boy. Caitlin also donated her heart valves and bone marrow.